It's Sandra. Welcome to another episode of Asexualise, my asexual life. This is a place to be for education about asexuality, all things asexual. I share my own asexual life journey in order to help you in yours. If you haven't already subscribed, please hit the subscribe button right here, right now. So, welcome to another episode of Asexual Perspectives Awareness Month, celebrating our diversity across the asexual spectrum and our differences within it. Some I founded in 2017 when I published the printed version of my Asexual Perspectives book. And throughout this month, I am going to be exploring some of the book aspects to help you in your own asexual life. And tonight we're discussing, or today, this morning, wherever you are in the world, we're discussing about it's basically being asexual in this highly sexualized world sucks. So, yeah, I know that doesn't sound like a great message. Hi, Anarch, lovely to see you. I know that doesn't sound like a great message, but I thought I'd read some stories out from the book, well, parts of stories, because I think you'll be able to really relate to the frustrations that some of these people have in Asexual Perspectives book. So, Silgy, I'm asking them, where are we? Right. This is like really, I've just gone through here. So I was going to talk to Silgy first, but I seem to have swapped the pages around somehow. Why have I swapped the page around? Some of the people in my Asexual Perspectives book haven't actually answered all the same questions. So, I know I marked this particular one out as yes. So basically, with Silgy, I actually asked the question, what's your deepest fear, concern, or worry about being asexual? And I marked this out as one of the things that really sucks about being asexual in this highly sexualized world. And that is what Silgy's answer is, corrective rape, the cure to all things. Sorry, no time for jokes. Oh, and I'm concerned about not being taken seriously to the point where no, and I don't want to sound like maybe, and yes, please to certain people. And I do think that is a real problem in this highly sexualized world we live in, that a lot of people who are sexuals just don't want to take no for an answer. They don't want to believe that we don't want sex if we say we don't. And when you say you don't want to, they sometimes see that as a challenge to try and get sex out of you even more. And I think that's such a damaging thing, damaging to us as asexuals, but also the whole dating and relationship scene. It makes life very difficult to know who to trust. There's a guy I met through Facebook dating recently. In the last 24 hours, I undid my, just over 24 hours now. I decided to undo my take a break. Actually, I didn't think I'd quite done it. And the reason I bring this up is because this guy who I told that I'm asexual to, it's in my bio, but I thought he's started talking to me saying, first of all, he matched with me as friends. And he happens to live in my city. Then we got talking. Then he's like, I'm looking for a partner and a relationship and a life partner. And I'm like, well, I'm asexual. Did you read my bio? And he's like, oh yeah, I don't believe in love outside of I don't believe in sex outside of a love relationship. But when in a relationship and committed and in love, then it's okay to have sex. And I said, I'm asexual and sexual orientation. I don't like sex. And I made this clear on my bio. Then he started to repeat the same thing again about the fact that, he's not, he's actually added something different. He's not had sex with women before. That's what he says. Maybe you believe him, maybe you don't. But he's not been in this country long, so it's possible, because in his background, it's highly unlikely he's been able to have sex in his own country, I would have thought, because it's probably got a lot of religious stuff going on there. So it wouldn't surprise me if he's telling the truth on that. But, he's only been in this country a few months. And so, yeah. And so then he said about it, and then he repeated himself about being in a relationship and about loving the person, and that it's okay to have sex then. I said, and I'm trying to explain to him that I'm asexual and I don't like sex. Obviously, I do agree with him. If you're going to have sex, it's much better to have it in a serious, committed, loving relationship. I don't dispute that. But at the end of the day, he's not paying attention to what I'm saying. It's clearly in my bio that I do not like sex and I'm asexual. I don't want sex, marriage, kids, or to live together with someone, even in a relationship. And he's like, oh, it's going to take a whole night for me to explain to you, to get you to understand why I like sex in a relationship. And I'm just thinking, does he not understand? Like, I can't have a relationship with him if he wants sex, and I don't. I explain that to him. But he's then gone on to say it's going to take a whole night to explain to you why I believe in, why I think this way. But it's like, it doesn't matter to me if he thinks that way because I can't have a relationship with him if that's what he wants. Do you know what I mean? I feel like when you're asexual in a highly sexualized world and you're talking to heterosexuals, it's just like bashing your head against a brick wall constantly. It's like you say something and it goes in one ear and out the other, and they continue as though you haven't said anything. And it seems like you're invisible or something. Like, the thoughts that they have and the stuff is just like, it's just they're pouring into you their stuff. And it's just like, but it's not that way. It takes him a whole night to explain, but you 2 seconds, literally no sense. Exactly. Anarch. So what happened with this guy is we matched as friends on Facebook dating, but I've never ever known so far of a guy who's matched with me as friends on Facebook dating to actually want to just be friends. And this guy looks to be exactly the same because it says friend. So I said, thank you for matching with me as a friend. So I specifically said that back to him. So he knows he's matched with me as a friend. And then he soon started talking about, he actually shared his Facebook with me to give him credit for that. He didn't friend request me, but I know of. But some guys can't friend request me anyway. I know because it seems like Facebook stopped some of them. But as far as I know, he hasn't friend requested me and he's not following me on my Facebook, which is a bit iffy. But the fact he shared his personal profile with me and I can see all his friends is a good sign because it means he's not really got anything to hide on there, which I did like about the fact he did that. I didn't even ask him to. He just shared it because he said about going for a drink. So I said, thanks for matching as a friend. And he was more speaking to me a bit more formally then, and he said, oh, yeah, it'd be nice to meet you for a drink. And I'm like, oh, well, I said that I got an injury at the moment, so I haven't really been out much, but I'm going pretty crazy in here as an extrovert. So it would be nice, but I can't go far. And I'd have to video chat with you first because I don't meet up with any guy off the internet unless I've done a video call first. And he's like, oh, yeah, I'd be up for that. And I'm like, well, when do you want to do it? I did originally offer him to not tonight, well, earlier on, but he didn't even reply to that. He just shared his Facebook with me. And then ended up having a message conversation because I was asking him, hi, Liam, by the way, lots of love to you. Ended up having a message conversation with him about, like why he's here, like why he moved and all this type of thing. I'm not going to divulge that personal information, obviously, it's his business, but you get my point. And so I was getting to know him a bit better, but I said to him about the video call and he agreed, and then he didn't even set a time up with me. So I'm thinking that's fine. After he told me basically he wants sex in a relationship and he started talking about relationship stuff, I haven't pursued that. I noticed I've got a message from him saying good morning on my Facebook, but I haven't in my messenger, but I haven't been on Facebook today directly. Actually, I've been busy doing my Asexual Guide to Sex and doing some admin and stuff. And I watched a movie because I need to keep my stress levels low to get better at the moment. So yeah, but it's just like, when he says it's going to take a whole night to explain to you, I said, I understand what you're saying. I said, I did actually write back to him, said, my dream is to have a guy love me be in a relationship with a guy who loves me for who I am without sex ever. Your dream is to be in a relationship, a loving, committed relationship, but where sex is involved. I said it's the exact opposite. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if I don't know if he's sending me back to that because I haven't been on my Facebook. I'm just like directly on there, I'm just kind of like keeping off there a bit at the moment. I'm trying to like get stuff, catch up with stuff, like my book and stuff is hard. And so it's just like, you just don't get it, and I think he's going to continue talking to me, but it's a shame because I would like more friends in my city, to be perfectly frank with you, because I don't have many people that I see these days in person. And at the moment, I'm not well enough to go to meetup.com events. I could go for the meal, for example, but then they always go on somewhere else. And at the moment, I'm resting my leg to make sure that I get my muscle better because I strain my muscle. And every time I go out, usually it's a lot of pain. I've only been out once in like 7 days now, just to do a bit of food shopping up the road, and that's been it. So yeah, it's just like absolutely no good, but it would be nice if I knew some people in my city to like be around sometimes. My best friend like lives about 2 hours away on the train. My best friend Andy, that is. So anyway, going back to the video, like things that suck about being asexual in this highly sexualized world. Nikki's story. How difficult is it for you to be asexual in a sexualized world? It's definitely a challenge, especially in your early 20s, as everyone expects sex to be the only thing you think about. Really? People are very dismissive of asexuality as an identity. It is a label, sadly, sometimes slapped on the socially outcast. This is really hard for me to even read this. It is often used in a derogatory way about someone who that person believes could never get laid anyway. I absolutely hate that, I have heard that quite a lot. Like, oh, you're so frigid, you just can't get laid. Like, getting laid's a really important thing in the world anyway. But it's like, I have guys regularly in my inbox that would love to have sex with me. And on dating sites, the reason I don't get into a relationship the majority of the time is because they all want sex. Like one Indian guy I met on Badoo, I met him through playing a game. One of the things I like about Badoo dating app, other than them having an asexual category, is the fact that you can play games every so often. And they end up just coming up randomly, and you get timed, and you can pick someone to play the game with, and it's answer like 5 questions and see if you got much in common. And I did it with this guy in the UK who was Indian, and he's like, "Oh, I can't believe how alike we are." But then when you click through their profile after you've answered the game questions and you see what they're really like in their bio, and you see that they're not actually suitable usually, like they smoke or they want kids or they're not asexual usually. But he said to me, he said it's a shame because he wished I wasn't asexual because he likes sex every day. I'm like thinking, oh my lord, like, is it not going to drop off during that time? Do you know what I'm saying? That is a lot. On average, I think, or I've heard that the average guys want sex is 3 times a week, or the average guy wants sex 3 times a week. Every day. I don't even know, like, it must be very painful, I think, down there. It's like, how do you go to work like that? Honestly. But anyway, but yes, so he had to say goodbye, even though we liked each other in a spiritual way, if you know what I mean, as well. So anyway, that was the end of that. But it's like, I really annoys me when there are people that think asexuals can't have sex, and that's why, or they can't have sex because there's something wrong with their genitalia, which usually there's absolutely nothing wrong with our genitalia. We're full working order down there. We just don't want sex. And also they think that like you can't get any people that are interested in having sex with you. I get it all the time. If I was highly sexual, if I was completely opposite to who I was today, and I loved sex so much, I could have a different guy for sex regularly. Do you know what I mean? Like, if it was me in a completely different body with a different mind, different life, or different mind, different life, different soul, or whatever, and I was the opposite, I would have plenty of offers, and but I'm not that type of person in this life. And I hope I'm really not in other lives too, because I don't really see a point, but there we go. I personally have found some people my age simply can't wrap their heads around it. They assume you're just sheltered or prudish, and once they run out of reasons, they just label you as strange and move on. Actual acknowledgement of asexuality as an identity is hard. I find I don't tell people, and the list of people I'd be willing to tell is very, very short. There are hardly any asexual characters on shows or in movies. We just aren't a thing. And I do think that's sad, really, and I do think that's difficult. I know it's hard. It is hard in the dating scene to get people to take asexuality seriously. I say it, and they think I'm abstaining, and I'm just waiting for a serious relationship, so I don't just have sex with casually with any guy. You know what I mean? That's what they think I'm talking about. And then others, they just completely ignore it, like it doesn't exist. And like one guy on Facebook dating, I asked him, so I matched with him purposely just to see why he was interested in me, because I thought it doesn't look like he's not Indian, doesn't look like we've got much in common. He was 22, British guy, and I couldn't understand why he matched with me. So I asked him, and he goes, "Oh, honestly, I just swipe as fast as I can. I don't even look." Like he doesn't even look at the person's bio. He just swipes as fast as he can and likes as many people as he can. Basically, I'm like, I was in shock, but I thought at least he's being honest. Obviously, he's blocked now, but he doesn't even look at people's bio. He literally basically swipes as fast as he can for the lot of people he likes the look of and people he doesn't. Liam, that is why I don't interact with anyone. Yeah, I mean, I don't care what people think. So for me, I honestly couldn't care less. I feel like queer representation is never really taken seriously, especially ace and aro identities, because oftentimes LGBTQ plus is just seen as a thing to be fetishized, and it's harder to do that for aro or ace people. Yeah, I mean, my personal mission, I don't know if you know what my mission is to get asexuality recognized as a sexual orientation in its own right throughout the globe, so no asexualists in fear of ridicule ever again. So although asexuality is part of the LGBT plus QIA acronym, my mission is to get it recognized separately to heterosexuals. Basically, I have to get through to heterosexuals. That's my personal mission given by God and the universe, if you like, because I'm a spiritual person. I believe that's what I was put on this earth to do this time around. So because I believe in reincarnation, like I believe I've been here before. So the thing is, we do get lost in LGBT plus QIA, because to heterosexuals, how are we any different if we're clumped with that? How can they know there's some people in the world that don't want sex when the majority of LGBT actually do want sex? It's only that A stands for asexual, but some say it stands for ally. Some people say it stands for agender. Some people say it stands for aromantic as well, that we're part of that group. But lesbians, gays, bisexuals, they all experience sexual attraction. And a lot of them are, in my experience, are still highly sexualized. And so how are heterosexuals supposed to understand that asexuals are any different? There's people that don't want sex if we don't stand out in our own right as well. I'm not saying we can't be part of that or we shouldn't be part of it, but we really need to come into our own and stand for what we stand for as a single unit as well. Do you know what I mean? Because in order to get it recognized globally, we have to get through to the heterosexuals, because they're the biggest population for us to be taken seriously. And that's the work that I do. Asexuality will never be recognized. I don't agree with that, Liam, but I understand where you're coming from. But I don't agree with that. I mean, there are some therapists now that do include asexual, so that is making some waves, which is good, and obviously there are other people doing work on it. But I mean, people can't deny asexuality exists when there's books out there for asexuals, not just my one, but other people's. There's YouTube channels, there's merchandise. Do you know what I mean? So they just make themselves look stupid in the end, because it's like, how can you deny what's in front of you? There wouldn't be people buying that stuff and demand for it if asexuals didn't exist. So I think it will be recognized eventually, but I just think it's going to take quite a long time to do that. I'd like it to be in my lifetime and our lifetime here on planet Earth, but I hold out hope and I keep working towards that goal anyway, because the more I can get it recognized, however much work I can do for the recognition, then it all is good for the future of asexuals. And I do get through to thought leaders. I mean, I am getting through to thought leaders. I'm getting on more and more podcasts, which is really important. They the podcast I'm going to be on soon called Sense of Soul. She's had over 1 million downloads. She's a top rated show, and so when I'm going to get on podcasts like these, this is how we can spread more and more awareness to a much more global audience. And don't forget, predominantly there's going to be a lot of heterosexuals listen to those types of podcasts. So I am going to fulfill my mission as much as I can do while I'm here on planet Earth to do it, And I think that's a good thing. So, Zoe's story. How difficult is it for you to be asexual in a sexualized world? It's difficult in that I feel I am still hiding part of my true identity. Many people perceive me as strange because I don't flirt, don't engage in telling ribald jokes, don't have a partner in my life, don't go gaga over so-and-so hot celebrity, don't wear shirts that put most of my breasts on display for everyone else's viewing pleasure. They feel something is off about me, but they can't pinpoint what. I won't deny being an asexual if someone asks me, but no one has. Liam says, hope asexuality will be recognised. Thank you, Liam. Lots of love. So do I. I'll do my best. This is another difficulty. I hope I don't have anyone in my life who would understand asexuality. I think that's hard when you haven't, you don't like. There's some asexuals, they don't even watch channels like this. They don't reach out and watch channels and join part of a community, even on YouTube. But I think even by joining a community on YouTube of asexuals, it does help. Any type of community where you feel safe. I mean, I do try to keep this YouTube channel as safe as possible. If I see really nasty comments, I just delete them and block the person. Because if they're saying stuff, for example, aimed at me and it's really nasty, I'm not gonna stand for it. They're gonna be like off here and blocked. And also they're more likely to be able to insult the people who are part of my community here as well if they can do that to me. And I don't want those type of people in my community, so they get blocked. And I don't have them in here. My community is a safe space as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, there's some things I leave, like one comment about me flying through the air as a superhero when I was jumping. They've made some silly comments about that, but I take them more in my stride that they're silly, some of them, and I just leave the silly ones up there. Like, I did actually think one was quite funny. They're like, oh, by the time she gets to the crime scene, everyone has died of laughter or something. And I didn't. I thought that's quite funny myself because I'm not meant to be like actually going to a crime scene. I'm jumping in the air. A superhero skip it is. So I've left that. I'm not too fussed about those ones. It's just nasty ones. Some of them go in spam, and I just delete them and block them anyway. Right, continue with Zoe's story. Also, I'm fed up with all the overtly sexual messages in our society that are so negative for women. Yeah, it really annoys me the amount of guys who think women's bodies are theirs and they own them. And the way they treat women's bodies and stuff, it's disgusting on Facebook because, like, you get quite a lot of like Asian women, like Chinese women, who are like doing these sex videos and they're posting them on my friend, they're tagging some of my friends' pages or profiles in there. It's just disgusting. Liam, we are always seen as frigid. I'm laughing because I'm far beyond frigid, but yeah. There are quite a few people that say stuff like that, but these people are just using it as a manipulative tactic. That's all that I spoke about that on yesterday's stream. Were you on yesterday's stream? I think you might have been. Yeah, I think you were. And I mentioned then about it being a manipulative tactic. It's so bad. So it's just people who put you down, belittle you, are just doing it on purpose to get what they want. That's all they're doing it for. So, but I do think there's a lot of sexualized messages in this world. And so he's gone on to say from fashion, movies, TV, print media, billboards, etc. The message is still that a woman's only validity is for sex, which thereby invalidates me. Boobs and butts, that's all a woman is good for. As a woman and a human being, this message is insulting. As a consumer, it does not make me want to buy those products. It's the 21st century, and young girls are still being given that damaging message. Dresses must be this short, shoes must be this high, makeup must be plastered on, all for you to be acceptable enough to step out of your door and into public view. You will still notice that the majority of time I don't wear makeup, even though I've been on this channel years, and maybe it would boost viewership if I wore a lot of makeup and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I don't see why I should have to do that just to do these videos, because I'm producing content that's helpful to people, not trying to like make them look at my face and artificial stuff plastered on that. Yes, I do wear a bit of makeup sometimes. Like I like glitter eyeshadow if I'm going out clubbing and stuff like that. I do like glitter eyeshadow, but I can't wear too much of it anyway because I've got sensitive skin. After years ago, I used to have to wear, well, I didn't have to, but I thought it's appropriate to wear eyeshadow at least to work. This is years ago, but my eyelids started peeling, so I had to stop doing that because the skin was peeling on them, because my body just doesn't like artificial stuff very much. So yeah, Geeks, I don't know if that's how you pronounce his name, Geek Vanderpool's story. How difficult is it for you to be asexual in a sexualized world? It is difficult to live in a world where asexuality is neither widely known nor accepted, which is, I think, how Liam feels in chat. However, the more asexuality is covered by the media / research, the more acceptance there will be. As far as I can judge, there is already more acceptance of asexuality now than 5 years ago. So that is really good news. Women are a little more than that. Yeah, I mean, it's women are, like most people wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for women, because most people still have women give birth to them, right? So at the end of the day, it's ridiculous. But what bothers me is, obviously I like foreign guys, but in foreign guys culture, a lot of the women are subservient, submissive to the guy, and I am just not like that at all. I'm not a housewifey type. I'm not interested in doing housework for a guy ever. Not interested in cooking and cleaning for him at all. As far as I'm concerned, he can do all that himself. I'm not his mother or his babysitter. Do you know what I mean? I just think that a lot of men expect far too much from a woman, and if that's what a man wants, then go and get that type of woman who can provide that. But I ain't being a doormat and being a slave to a guy. I'm not doing that. I'd rather live on my own forever and be single forever than that. You know what I mean? I do enjoy my single life. I really do. It just means I can do what I want when I want. I don't have to please a man, which I really enjoy, to be quite frank with you. And I think that's the beauty of being single, and I think all the highly sexualized stuff, it really turns me off from being with a heterosexual, to be honest. Because, like even the heterosexual guy, the foreign guy that I was talking to you about earlier, that was talking to me on Facebook dating and then Facebook, and didn't, wasn't accepting what I was saying about being asexual, Even he has women following him that scantily clad sex women, basically. They're the women that set up Facebook pages with their boobs out, basically, and a tight G-string up their butt. And all it is like leading to an OnlyFans page. A lot of these people on Facebook, they literally get them into their inbox or on their page, and then they redirect them to OnlyFans where they have to pay for content. That's how they do it. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, I mean, this guy, as far as I can tell, isn't actually following these women himself. They're following him, so to give him some credit. But it's like, I'm thinking, you know what I mean? If you're not interested in those type of women, why do you not just block them from your followers list? Do you know what I mean? It just seems crazy to me. Cassie's story. How difficult is it for you to be asexual in a sexualized world? It was highly confusing when I was growing up, and I thought that the sexual attraction and desires that made people act crazy in books and movies were there just to make the stories more interesting, like dragons and talking animals and moving forests. Now it's mainly annoying. I find it ridiculous that a commercial for hamburgers would include a woman in a bikini sensually licking the food, and that the majority of jokes in popular shows include some sort of a sexual meaning. Everything is so focused around sexuality. like it's the most important thing in the world. There's pills, treatments, toys, dolls being researched and made to make you desire more sex, to make you last longer, to make you go at it multiple times, to beat the lowering libido that can come with age or stress. Like having less sex is the worst thing that can happen to a person. And yeah, it is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, the sex industry is big. It's absolutely huge. The best-selling book genres and are actually fiction, and they're romance and erotica. They're like the two most top read genres and bought genres. This is why people who do romance books, they just bring out more and more series of them, or erotic books. I thought, should I just write an erotic book on purpose as an asexual person and see how far I get and put it under what alias name that's got nothing to do with my real name, just to see if I'm good at writing this rubbish that people like, for the sake of testing it out and thinking, but if I ended up being really good at it, which I can be good at writing, obviously, because I write non-fiction books, then I might end up doing really well at it. And I'm like, oh God, then I'd have to write about stuff like that all the time. Romance is good because it's my thing, but romance usually involves sex, where heterosexuals are on there, the majority of the people that buy a lot of the stuff. Although they have on Amazon, they have like gay romance these days. They have quite a lot more gay romance, but I'm not gay. I'm hetero, so it'd be easier for me to write from a hetero point of view, even though I'm asexual. But I have thought about it seriously, and then I'm just like, but Sandra, that would repulse you so much. You'd end up nearly want to throw up all the time. Yeah. That's where my thought went on that. I mean, writing Asexual Guide to Sex when I was first writing that book, which is I've been working on it for 4 years now. That was really hard to write in the beginning for a long time, because I'm talking about sex in the book, obviously, and I'm a sex repulsed asexual. It took me ages to stop actually feeling sex repulsion during what I was writing and speaking about, if you know what I mean. I found that I'm just thinking back now, because it's such a long time ago since I started the book, June 2019. I'm doing the editing at the moment, the final edits, but it's hard work. It's not an easy book to edit. It's a long book, and there's a lot of things I need to make sure are right, and formatting as well, and styling of the paragraphs and stuff like that. I've got to do all that as well, so it's hard. But yeah, so I remember looking back how repulsed I was at the beginning of starting that book. It was really hard for me. I found that I had to write a bit, then stop, because it just became too overwhelming for me. But now I think I've become quite immune to writing a lot of that stuff. I'm just thinking about now, from where I am now to where I used to be 4 years ago. I used to find it so hard. It was really difficult for me. So I've actually been on a journey with the Asexual Guide to Sex book myself, like a personal journey where I wrote it. And there's a lot of relationship stuff in there now that wasn't going to be in there originally, because I felt that I needed to add it. Because I think anyone who's even contemplating about having sex, they should be looking to get into a healthy relationship in the first place. That's what a lot of problems are with relationships. People just have this sexual attraction, or they just have someone they are attracted to. They jump into a relationship, and they find out down the line that actually it's not a healthy person for them to be in a relationship with. It's an abuser or a narcissist, or someone it isn't even compatible with what you're looking for. And so that's how the Asexual Guide to Sex book's been developed. It's like going to be like a life reference book. So it's quite hard to do, but I'm very proud of all the asexuals that are in it, and myself as well, for getting to the final stages of that now. But it's not easy when you're sex repulsed. And I find that's what I find difficult about the world. But I tend to not watch stuff, so it's a lot easier for me. So from my point of view, I don't watch any TV. I don't have a TV license anymore. I don't watch TV at all, because a lot of that is just sexualized. It's just like, even soap operas, like if they're pubs, they've just got women with like tops on with the boobs hanging out. And I don't personally like that myself. I mean, it's up to women what they wear, but I just don't personally like that. Like, I find it really uncomfortable when I see women in the streets, if I'm going to the supermarket, and the women have just got a tiny little strap dress on with their boobs nearly hanging out. It just basically covers a bit of their, I can't even say it. You know what I mean? Anyway, it makes me really uncomfortable, and I'm like, is it really necessary? Like, why do you have to stick that out? So yeah, but I just I just think that oh something Anne said, which is really important. I'm going to read that now. How difficult is it for you to be asexual in a sexualized world? I seem to be pretty oblivious to my surroundings, so I feel that way about the fact of a lot of the media stuff because I don't watch TV, I don't read magazines, I don't watch the news or read the news, and so a lot of the time I don't have anything to do with sex or sexuality, like obviously asexuality is my sexuality, but anything to do with highly sexual stuff I tend not to have much in my life of because I just get rid of it. I don't have anything in my home. A lot of the time I'm in my own home. The thing that I do come across quite a lot is imagery, sexual imagery in videos. Some of the videos that I watch, music videos, but I tend not to watch them so much. I tend to put them on in the background. So I've actually working on my asexual guide to sex book, and then I'll have it in the background. But a lot of them are mixers, so they just have a still picture on there. So it's not too bad. But other ones the still picture is not a good one, if you know what I mean. Ones that are groups usually have their clothes on, but the ones where they're on the beach or stuff, they have a scantily clad woman. It's just, ugh. But if I'm watching something else, like doing something else, I've got that over the picture, then it's good. But it's pretty annoying. So I felt a great deal of discomfort because I wasn't viewing things sexually as much as other people did, but didn't put the pieces together. I remember talking with a classmate about the Maslow hierarchy of needs, like the human need for food and shelter and fulfillment, and someone brought up needing sex. That made me openly scoff, and I got a few funny looks from it. Yeah, it really annoys me that it's like people say sex is a basic human need, but it's not for everyone. And it's like, oh, it's natural for everyone. It's not natural for everyone. There are asexuals who don't like, want, or need sex. And it's not an innate desire or need for them. It really pees me off. It's like, why do people just stereotype everyone as the same? It's logical and common sense that not everyone in the world likes everything. And for everything that's in the world in existence, not everybody likes it. It's common friggin' sense. I feel like screaming. How can you not understand that? There's going to be like some people, for example, who have a phobia of doorknobs or something like that. They don't like the color or shape or feel of them. For every fruit in the world, there's someone who doesn't like that fruit. Do you know what I mean? There's people who've got phobias and fears of all types of things that other people don't even have. And they're happy to still do those things. You know what I'm saying? Everyone's different. And I wish people would understand it's perfectly normal and natural for some people to not like, want, or need sex. There's nothing wrong in that. And that really does pee me off because I get a lot of guys coming in my inbox, especially on dating sites, going, oh, well, it's natural for everyone to like sex. I'm like, well, no, it's not natural for me because I don't want it like it, need it. I'm not having it. Anne concludes, overall, I've always been socially inept for various reasons, and this just offers yet another explanation on why that is. Since I have plenty of oddball qualities already, it's not a huge deal. Yeah, I do think if you're different as it is, then it helps. When you found out about asexuality, you find out you're different to the majority of the population. If you're already thinking you're different, it does help ease that, if you know what I mean. Because some people can be quite shocked when they find out and in denial. But if you already think you're kind of different and far out anyway, and beautifully quirky and interesting, then you kind of already fit in with asexuality, if you know what I mean. So yeah. Claire's story. So Claire says it's very difficult to be asexualized. It's asexualized, sorry. This child's asexualized. It is very difficult to be asexual in the sexualized world, as you are immediately an outsider. You don't get the jokes, you miss the sexual innuendo and the sexual cues. And I think that is something that can be quite difficult for some people. I think if people are on the autism spectrum as well as asexual, that can be really difficult because a lot of people who are autistic, um, they have difficulties understanding social cues as it is. And when you add into asexuality, or when you add asexuality into the mix, should I say, then it becomes difficult to spot people who are flirting with you, who are trying to get you into a sexual situation, or trying to build a potential relationship with you, because you just don't really understand what they're up to. You just think they're being friendly, you know what I mean? Also, alternatively to that, is there's a lot of aromantic asexuals in the asexual community who are very, very, very friendly that heterosexuals would interpret, for example, as flirting when they're just being themselves. So it can be really difficult. Liam, some humans don't need sex. Yeah, exactly. I'm one of them that really doesn't need sex. Like when I do actually say to guys, some guys on dating sites or dating apps, yes, I have had sex in the past. No, I don't want it again. I have had good sex and I have had bad sex, just in case you were wondering. And I've been happily sex free now for nearly 12 years. And when they hear that 12 years bit, I'm like, yes, 12 years. I'm really happy about that. And I'm really happy to be asexual. And I like being that. They then usually stop bothering me and decide to stop speaking to me. Because it seems like it's really difficult when you're asexual and you've got people on dating apps because, they just like, a lot of them are dismissive of asexuality. A lot of them don't believe you. A lot of them don't read the bio. And if they read the bio, they still don't understand it. And even if you spell out you're asexual and what that means, they think it means something like, you're abstaining, or you just haven't found the guy you want to be serious about yet, or you are waiting for the right person to come along before you have sex with them, and all this type of thing. And it's just like, please, if you're not interested in a sexless relationship, just friggin' move the hell on, because I'm not interested in a relationship with sex. And it's just, it just wastes my time and their time. I don't see the point. And what is even worse is when guys lie and say they don't want or need sex themselves, and they clearly end up needing it pretty much all the time. So it's just horrible. I hate it when guys lie. I'm like, what is the frigging point? Sometimes it's to stroke their ego. Sometimes it's because they want the connection with you, regardless of the fact you're saying you're asexual. They want to be connected. They want someone to talk to because they're bored. I get guys coming on Badoo and they start talking to me, and I look at the profile and I say, "Oh, thanks for your message, but I've checked out your bio and we're not suitable." And some of them are like, "Why?" Question mark. And I think it's frigging obvious. A lot of the time, it's to do with them smoking. They smoke, and I don't want to smoke, or they want kids, and I don't want kids. And I'm thinking, if you can't even understand what's in your bio that's not compatible with mine, clearly you haven't read my bio, or you haven't understood it if you have read it. And you haven't taken it seriously. Do you know what I mean? So I think the worst thing for me about being asexual in this highly sexualized world is literally just trying to find someone for a serious, committed, sexless, romantic, forever relationship. That is really difficult. I might never find it, and I'm okay if I don't, because I do enjoy being single anyway. Sometimes I just want to take time out for me and just not bother with the stuff. I am still on Badoo. My popularity is still very high there, and I am back on Facebook dating now, trying that again, but it's just a crazy world in the dating world these days. I've been on the dating scene now, dating online for over 9 years. Can you believe that? I started in 2014 and we're now in 2023. So yeah, obviously I'm doing my dating and relationships channel now. So it does help when I'm on dating apps to be able to do the advice videos on the Asexualise dating channel. Don't forget to subscribe if you're interested in that. I know Liam's not interested in a relationship, but if someone else is watching and you are, then go to Asexualise dating at Asexualise dating. It basically is on YouTube, and you can subscribe to there and hit the bell icon. I do lots of shorts videos on there. I keep it short a lot of the time. That was a joke, but it wasn't a joke because it's true. It just sounded funny. And so, yeah, I think it does help, because if I'm actually on the dating scene, I feel I'm able to give dating advice because I'm current, I'm in it, in the thick of it, as it were. But it is very hard when you're asexual. And I go on dating sites, like dating apps these days, and I'm like, well, Badoo's a dating site and app. And I go on there and I'm like, my God, the amount of guys on there that are just wanting sex. And it's just like, I'm mind blown. It's like I've been in a time warp, an asexual time warp, and I've gone back into dating. And it's like, I mean, I say I've been online dating for 9 years. Obviously, I have had breaks during that time. But every year for 9 years, I have been on dating sites or dating apps. I haven't actually had a year off. I've had some months off as part of one year and part of another, for example, but I haven't actually had a whole year off since then that I can remember, as far as I know. Because I've been on asexualitic.com since 2014. I've always been on there. I've never ever had any time off that. And a-book.net. So yeah, but in terms of dating apps that are more with heterosexuals, I haven't been on there all the time. There's been breaks in that. So yeah, but I am in dating groups as well on Facebook. So throughout the whole 9 years, I have been on the online dating scene non-stop, if you count all the asexuals, well, the asexual sites I'm on, as well as all in the dating groups I'm in, pretty much. I don't think I've had any break at all, because I know I've been on Asexuality since 2014, all that time, but I haven't been active on it all the time. But yeah, it's good to have breaks because, it can get overwhelming and it can get quite addictive swiping. But I do find it's hard because on Badoo, you've got a category for asexuals when you join it. But when you put the filters on, you can only filter people who are heterosexual, gay, bisexual, and one other, I think it's other or something. There's not actually a category to search for other asexuals. You can add yourself as asexual as your sexual orientation, sexuality, but you cannot actually search specifically for asexuals. And I think that's ridiculous. Why? It's ridiculous. So that's a real big flaw they've got on their app. But yeah, so you've got part recognition. I really wish there was articles explaining on all the dating sites about what asexuality is, and to even have it as a warning to heterosexuals that there are some people who don't like sex and they are on dating sites, because they could get into situations where they could end up sexually abusing an asexual because they won't take no for an answer and don't realize or won't accept it's a real thing, so they're going to land themselves in trouble anyway, as well as the person getting hurt on the receiving end. So it benefits both people if the dating apps would have actual useful advice video on it, or blog post or something, and make people watch it. It will try to make people watch it. On Badoo, they have loads of adverts on that, and they do have blog posts. They had one for Pride, but they've not had one specifically for asexuality that I've seen yet. Maybe I should actually write and ask them if I can do an article for them. It might be interesting. Liam, glad I'm aromantic. Yeah, I bet you're glad about that. It is hard. Yeah, that is another point. You make a really good point, because I'm a romantic asexual and I do crave romance. That makes it a lot harder to be asexual in the sexualized world, because people usually always put romance and sexual attraction together, which is not the case for me personally, but they do. Heterosexuals put romance, aesthetics, and sexual attraction all lumped into one thing. And so, because I'm a hyper romantic and a hyper kisser, which is very rare for the majority of the population, and I'm a rare asexual in that way. So I'm like a 1% of the 1%. So I'm like this minute tiny grain on the speck of the earth in terms of my sexual orientation and asexual needs. I'm like, oh my lord. It's very difficult, to find someone suitable, because I do have strong kissing requirements, but no sex requirements. I'm not interested in taking my clothes off, which is something a lot of guys expect and want. They go, so, if you don't have sex, I can still see your naked body, can't I? And I feel like screaming. I'm like, well, clearly you're saying that just to get sexual pleasure because this is a heterosexual, and they're trying to say, well, if you're not going to give me sex, you're going to show me your naked body, aren't you? You know what I mean? It's for sexual pleasure and gratification. We're not talking about just looking at a piece of artwork here. We're talking about sexual gratification. It's just disgusting. And so, yeah, Liam's reminded me that being romantic asexual is a lot harder, I think, because, and a hyper romantic or hyper kiss. So I don't experience platonic attraction whatsoever. And that is really rare. Like, it just skipped the feelings for a guy. Usually aesthetic attraction first. Romantic attraction is often intertwined with that as well. So it really sucks, you know? It is hard. And being a hyper kisser is hard because I have kissing needs. But at the moment, I'm not so fussed about that because I did get a lot of kissing action a few weeks ago. And I've been trying to focus on other things, like being more productive of things I've got to catch up on, like blog posts, which I've been catching up on, and group stuff, asexual group stuff that I've been catching up on. So I'm planning my time, energy, and effort into all that stuff, especially while my leg heals. So yeah, but it is really hard when you're romantic asexual because if you love kissing a lot like I do, heterosexuals just want to have sex when you kiss. It arouses them so much, it makes them want to have sex. But with me, it doesn't do that. Like, heterosexuals don't get it. They don't understand asexuality. They're like, oh, so how are you stopping your feelings? I'm like, I don't have sexual feelings. I really don't have sexual feelings. I don't have any desire to have sex. When I kiss, it does not make me want to have sex. You know, and they think I'm like holding back. It's like, no, I've got nothing to hold back. I'm like chilling out with my body like that, but I'm enjoying the kissing, but I'm not interested in having sex. I don't have to hold myself back. I think that's a blessing really in the sense that I can kiss for hours and never want sex. That is something quite good about me. If I ever find a guy who's into kissing as much as I am and doesn't want sex, that's gonna be really bliss for him. He's gonna be like in heaven with me. He's gonna be like, "Oh my god, I can't believe that I've met this compatible girl who just like spending hours kissing me but doesn't want sex." It'll be like heaven for him. But trying to find that type of guy is like a needle in a haystack, right? It's very rare. It doesn't mean to say it doesn't exist, but it is very rare. But if he finds me, he'll be very, and we're compatible in other ways, like don't want kids and don't want marriage and stuff, then he'll be really happy with me. I know that. He'll be like so happy and have the type of, you know, and if he likes kissing in public, I wouldn't be with a guy who doesn't want to kiss in public, which might sound weird to most people, but for me, kissing in public is absolutely essential. I'm the type of person that I really could not care less what other people think. And I mean that wholeheartedly. I couldn't give a toss. I am literally on this planet Earth this time around, one lifetime only in this physical form. And I like being in the moment every moment I can and experiencing kissing pleasure whenever I want, you know. And if people don't like looking at me kissing, that's fine. They can look away. If I see people kissing, I think good for them. I'm thinking, fine, you're living in the moment, right? You're enjoying each other in the moment, you're kissing and having a great romantic time and you're liking each other, you know? I think that's a positive thing. Didn't think any of my family don't think any of my family believe in asexuality. That's really tough. You could always get a copy of my book, Liam, and send it to one of your family members anonymously. And they open up and maybe they'll be like, "Oh, what's this?" And don't tell them you sent it. That could be quite interesting, couldn't it? Or someone donate a book to them, you know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, my parents are not asexual, they're heterosexual, but they know I'm asexual. They're actually very good about it, I have to say. They didn't understand me in the past. They understand me more now since I've told them I'm asexual. They understand why I'm nudity repulsed now, which they didn't understand at all before. I thought it's some sort of insecurity. I'm like, no, I genuinely don't like women's naked bodies, but now they understand it. Because they know that I don't like sex, you know, and they're fine. I don't care whether they're fine with it or not, but they are fine with that. They do get a bit fed up with me talking about asexuality all the time, though, but I don't care. 'Cause I'm like, well, my whole life revolves around asexuality. Every single day, I'm either working on my asexual book, or I'm on these channels, or I'm in my asexual groups. Like literally, there's not a day goes by when I don't have anything at all to do with asexuality. Usually, it hardly ever happens, if ever. Like I am always doing something to do with asexuality, you know what I mean? So yeah, and I'm really proud of that. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this live stream. If you're playing catch up, thank you for joining us on catch up. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell icon if you haven't already. Thanks to Liam and Anarch for being in chat today. I'd love to hear your own experiences, how difficult you found it being asexual in this highly sexualized world. If you haven't already contributed to chat, please pop the comments down below. Let's have a discussion. And don't forget to hit the thumbs up if you haven't already, and share this if you think someone needs to hear it right now. If someone could relate, for example, to these scenarios. Lots of love to you. Liam and Anna, thank you once again. I'll see you soon in the next video live stream. Lots of love, everyone. Take care. See you soon.